asking for a gift. Because apparently that one is going to make rounds in the entire country, which is wonderful. And I think the climate clock could not have come at a better time as this, when we are planning to make a big statement on climate action. President of the Kenya Editors Guild, Madam Zubeida Kome, the CEO of the Guild, Rosalia, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, of course my PS for Environment and Climate Change, and the CEO of the Africa Climate Summit. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by, I know the CEO has done very good enumeration of what the summit is all about in good detail. And I'm also very happy to hear that the language that the Guild is speaking is the same as what we are saying in terms of the need for urgency, the need for some serious focus. I think the climate discourse or discussions and climate action is one of those that we cannot leave to the normal political, what do I call it? The political media engagements with government. When it comes to climate change and climate action, it is one that we really have to work together with the media towards a common goal, which is to create awareness and to do a rallying call to action for all the players. And therefore, I'm really excited today to see that we have one common goal that can bring us together. And with regards to the specific requests made by the Guild or the media, because I believe you're speaking for the entire media fraternity in the country, as the PS says, actually the allowable time for the side events had closed, because this was an open process for anybody to express interest, but we are going to do an exceptional opening for the media. Please come forward, express your interest. Even before you applied for the side events and seeking support with accreditation and registration, we have some very good space for you at KICC. Actually, about 3 different spaces for media. We really want to make sure that media is part of the process. And with regard to accreditation and registration, again, it was open for all, but again, because of this engagement and what we have been having for the last 2 weeks, we invite the Guild to take leadership, provide for us a list of the media entities that would wish to take part in the summit, and we would invite you to do that immediately, because again, it's a race against time before the summit happens. So just like we are doing for the high-level delegates, we invite our media to come forward, give us a list, and between the CEO and the Secretariat, we cannot admit everybody. Then we can agree on the numbers that we can bring on board. But we do not want to leave any media outlet behind. And that goes to even helping mobilize beyond Kenya so that we have as wide a coverage as possible. So I'm going to, my brief speech is going to really be broader than just the summit. Again, because of what everyone here has stated, that the summit will come and go, but the climate debate and discussions and engagements, we have to go beyond just the summit. And indeed, the summit itself is fashioned to go beyond these 3 days of 4th to 6th or 4th to 8th because of the Africa Climate Week, because we have a whole plan on how to carry forward the summit discussions to the UN General Assembly, and thereafter to the COP28 and other international media engagements on climate change. So let me say that it's always a pleasure having conversations with stakeholders in the media industry. Our media briefings to the nation and the globe on the state of preparedness towards the Africa Climate Summit are meant to be conversations and engagements on climate change, where we speak with partners and stakeholders in an interactive manner. You all know, and has been said here, that extreme, unpredictable weather, higher temperatures, and changed rainfall patterns are being experienced by populations globally, even though these populations might not recognize these events as manifestations of climate change. The data-heavy climate change reports that are readily available for all to access, however, provide evidence that these manifestations are as a result of climate change. The question remains as to how many people are able to make sense of these scientific documents, and if the information being disseminated gets to populations that are most vulnerable to climate change. We therefore need all hands on deck, and the media then is a very integral partner in this. The media has the ability to change this narrative, simplify and dejargonize the climate change narrative. The media can play an integral role in shaping public opinion and create a ripple effect by influencing behavior and attitudes, spreading awareness, and shaping knowledge about climate change. The communication gap between scientists and communities can lead to inaction and incorrect action for adaptation and mitigation efforts. And I think Obonyo is the one who spoke to that gap that currently exists. And we at the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, again, through the Meteorological Department within the ministry, are closely engaged with the International Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is the scientific body behind climate action. And I'm happy to say that in the just concluded elections of the IPCC Bureau, we have a Kenyan as one of the vice chairpersons represented in the IPCC. And we recently, 2 days ago, or 3 days ago, just launched the seventh cycle of the assessment reports of IPCC right here in Nairobi. And really to invite the media to be interested with the IPCC reports, which we heavily rely on in our climate change action or climate action. And it is also very impressive and encouraging to see that during the introductions, you could see the great interest that the media has developed and actually demonstrated by the number of science-based journalists and media players that we have around these tables. The media has the ability to change, I was talking about the communications gap between scientists and communities that can lead either to inaction or incorrect action, thus creating the need for consistent, clear and simple climate communication. As we speak today, most of the reporting on climate change is centered around national and international negotiations and summits on climate change and national and state level plans and reports. These themes, though important, we need to target direct messages and information to communities and populations that are vulnerable to climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason we invited you to lunch, so that we may agree that the goal of climate change reporting is to raise awareness on climate change, explain its causes and effects, and encourage people to take action to address it at various levels. This can be a challenging task, as climate change is a complex and often abstract issue. However, in my view, it is essential that climate communication be accurate, balanced, and accessible to a wide range of audiences, because effective climate communication is integral to the fight against the climate change crisis. And if we are in agreement that effective climate change reporting is part of the fight against climate change, then we must ensure that it is objective and balanced. It would be important to present all sides of the climate change debate fairly and accurately by balancing the risks of climate change and its impacts. We also need to be inclusive. Climate change affects everyone. It is important to make sure that climate reporting is inclusive so that all the voices are on the table. It should cover people from different backgrounds, cultures, and gender. At the Africa Climate Summit, we have avoided the dichotomy of North versus South, which has been the prevailing discourse. We have avoided the dichotomy of East versus West. We have avoided the dichotomy of who is the most emitter and who is the least emitter. We have agreed that all of us are part of the problem, and that without blame games, we should be solutions-oriented. Therefore, climate change communication should not just focus on the problem of climate change, it should also focus on the solutions that are available. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the gist and the core of the climate summit, of the Africa Climate Summit, where Africa is shedding the normal tag of a victim, the normal tag of the many problems that we face, yet we emit the least of greenhouse gas emissions. Those are facts. But then what? Because the climate crisis will not wait to listen to the outcry and the normal blame games and finger pointing. On our part, as Kenya and the African Union Commission, we have agreed that the Africa Climate Summit, that Africa is offering to be the solutions provider on climate action. Africa is ready to provide stewardship towards a green growth development pathway, leveraging on her immense resources, as has been stated here by the CEO, putting in place frameworks and mechanisms that would attract capital to steer this process as we decarbonize and fight climate change. The Africa Climate Summit that Kenya and the AUC will host in the same dates of 4th to 6th of September is not intended to be an end in itself. And that's why I say that this engagement, and actually invite the sentiments that were stated here by the President and the other members who spoke, that beyond the summit, beyond the COPs, we must engage with the media to carry forward the discussions around solution-oriented action around climate change. As Kenya and the AU, we intend that the summit provides a medium where we start climate change-related conversations driven from and with an African lens. At the summit, we aim to start changing the conversation from Africa, the victim of hunger, famine, and flood, to Africa that is resource-rich with a huge arable agricultural land potential, enormous carbon sinks, huge green critical mineral deposits, and endless renewable energy potential. That is the new picture, the new narrative that the summit is going to incubate and carry forward beyond Nairobi. The new narrative must project Africa as a solution provider to climate change through its abundant resources as stated. It should be an Africa that is willing and ready to attract capital that is timely, equitable, and at scale to lead the world in tackling climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why I would, at this point, and I have said this severally, take the opportunity to invite you to register, and like we have said, and we are going to demonstrate that, we are going to offer preferential treatment for the media to make sure that you are at the core of the summit. So far, we have registered and accredited over 13,000 delegates. We have lined up over 200 side events on various topics. There will be exhibitions on various climate change related solutions and technologies. We believe it is going to be a climate summit like no other. As I conclude, we look forward to hosting all of you at the Africa Climate Summit. I also look forward to reading and watching in-depth reporting on climate change beyond the Africa Climate Summit, and my ministry remains ready to partner with the media in pushing this forward. So behind kuonekana, we are really looking forward to a very robust and constructive, solutions-oriented reporting on climate action. And like has been said, and like the clock here shows us, it's a race against time. And by all indication, we are moving from global warming to global boiling. That is now the language that it's not just the language but the reality, because of all the effects that we are seeing of deaths resulting from heat waves, extreme rain. You're either in extreme heat, extreme rain, everything extreme, extreme droughts. So this is a cause that we must be in together. So I think I will stop it there so that I can invite more engagement through question and answer. My PS is here, the CEO is here, and we are ready to respond to your questions. But the invitation by Zubeida that we go to the coast kujivinjari, unataka utuanike. We'll take it to that pinch of snow. But we would love to be part of that engagement in the coast, only that the dates might coincide with the COP28. So if we're able to rearrange, then we will do it together. Thank you very much, Mr. Jenny.